about it. Yep, that's a problem.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and rockets sprinkled the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, a very, very good evening, everybody, from Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286, Patricia and my American husband, David. And it is July the 4th, of course, and a very special hello to all of the American cruisers out there. That was a little different rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner that I normally send, and it is a pretty serious one because I have learnt in the last 24 hours quite a lot about how the Star-Spangled Banner became the national anthem of the USA. It's a very, very interesting story, which I do want to share with you because I was so impressed because it explained to me why my husband in particular and Americans in general are extremely patriotic. And when you look at that, the origin of the Star-Spangled Banner, it was actually written by Francis Scott Key. He was a lawyer from Baltimore at the time when the colonies, i.e. the USA as it is today, was in fierce battle with the mother country, the British, and they had got to the position where he wanted to organize a prisoner swap. A lot of the American prisoners were on a ship out about sort of 1,000 yards off from shore. It was off the Fort Henry shore, actually. And so he went out as a lawyer, and they agreed with the admiral of the British that they would exchange prisoners one for one. But at the last minute, the British decided that they would have an ultimatum in addition to the prisoner swap, and that they looked out and saw on the ramparts above Fort Henry the US flag. Fort Henry, by the way, wasn't a real military fort. It was sort of a protection area for a lot of women and children. But anyway, the flag was way up there on the rampart, and the British Admiral said that when it dropped, they would be considered capitulated and therefore under British rule. And Francis Scott Key said, why would they do that? And his head was put in the direction of the oncoming British fleet, and there were hundreds of ships in the British fleet. All the war fleet was coming in to attack that fort and just level it. And anyway, the Americans decided not to drop it at this stage, and so at sunset, the whole bombardment started, and all the prisoners below kept asking Francis Scott Key, "Tell us where the flag is. Is the flag still flying over the ramparts?" And he would reply, "It is still up." And this went on all night. They could see the flag when the bombs dropped very close to it, and it was still up. The people that were at the fort remembered, I guess, George Washington's words, "We will die on our feet before we will live on our knees." Anyway, the British decided they couldn't understand, because they could see that they were on target, and they decided that all their ships would fire just at the flag for 3 hours. And boy, they just couldn't work out why the damn thing was still flying. And the prisoners kept praying, and then as dawn approached, the flag was still up. It was at an angle, and tattered, very tattered, but still flying despite the multiple hits. And men had held it up until they died, and others took their place. It was actually held up by patriots' bodies. And there the words came from, "Oh, say, can you see, by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?" If that's not an example of patriotism, I don't know what it is, because it's just an amazing story, and you can see why Americans are so patriotic about that flag. Anyway, I hope that all you Americans out there in the South Pacific, you deserve to be in the nice warm South Pacific, because your forebears did an awful lot of work to keep it open and free. So I hope you've got a chance to get together. I guess it's not really July 4th for Americans until the early hours of tomorrow morning, but I hope you take the opportunity to get together and celebrate your free country. Okay, well, there's been a few movements. There's people on the go from Tonga to Fiji, and I'm just trying to get the marine traffic. Yesterday, I couldn't believe that people departed from New Zealand, but there was another group today. About 2, 4, 6 of them are on their way, by the look of it, to Tonga, and the rest heading north or to New Caledonia, a couple of boats. So let's see if we can find, first of all, seeing as they're probably in much rougher conditions than those further north, let's see if I can find Sugar Shack, Gulf Harbour Radio. No sign of Sugar Shack. They might have, they are, I can tell you where they are. They're with the group of boats. This was 18 minutes ago. Sugar Shack were at 3509, or almost 10 actually, 17447, and they were doing 8.9. Boy, isn't it nice to be in a catamaran? But fairly strong conditions out there, 20 knots, and they're on a course of 016. I should actually tell you what our conditions are here. We've had it mostly dry today, but at the moment it's, well, we had a few sprinkles, but it's about 15 knots from the southwest here, but a bit stronger outside. Of course, looks like more like 20 knots for the boats that left. 16 degrees here, and about 85% cloud cover with a bar of 1012. All right, let's go to the more placid conditions further north and see if we have got our boat that checked in yesterday, and that was Laura Dawn, excuse me. Had a little snack before and it's right in my throat. Laura Dawn, Gulf Harbour. Yeah, I'm really struggling with you tonight, Nick. Hang on a minute. I'm going to try. I'm not sure why the other thing is not working for me. Just stand by one. Why is that not working? Okay, Laura Dawn, I'm not sure what's going on here, but I've got you quite weak. I have you at 1, 2, 4, 5. Could you carry on, please?
I couldn't do it 1 feet first. It's too, maybe 2 feet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm just not getting you very well. I'm just tried another system. Just stand by. I don't know what's wrong with this thing. You see, I was in a rush and I didn't get it set up properly. Could you take it? I just can't hold that at the moment. Could you just talk about what's happening there?
Well, Patricia is trying to figure out these antennas. We've got our own antenna system here, but also we have the other one at Cayo, and she's trying to sort out which one is not working properly. Both seem not to be working properly, so I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I could tell you what's going on up around the Fiji area. Fiji Met, the Met service up there, is calling off a trough that's just to they said, just to the north of the country that's going to sink down onto the country, meaning both Big Islands, the Lao, and all of that. And their forecast is for south to southeast winds 15 to 20 knots. That's today and tomorrow, and possibly the next day. Now, I'm looking at the current satellite imagery, and I can assure you that they are not exactly correct. That trough has definitely moved down over Fiji and affecting pretty much all of Fiji. It's quite broken at Viti Levu, and Vanua Levu is broken as well. And the cloud extends all the way down to Tonga. So those of you that are on passage will probably note all of the cloud that you have. And this one in particular, this one trough that I see that runs basically east-west, that has got quite a bit of rain in it and quite a bit of squall activity in it. But it is not all the way north enough to affect even Viti Levu. So Fiji Met Service is a little bit behind what they're trying to tell us. So that's the story there. Winds will remain pretty much out of the southeast for anybody who is sailing from Tonga to Fiji. The only thing that you have to look out for are the clouds, which very well could be quite squally and typically quite worse at night. So there you have the basic idea. Again, the winds 15 to 20 southeast. So certainly coming from a reasonable direction. Probably a lot of you don't like the wind directly behind you. I know we don't. But in any case, it's better than right on the nose, and it's not going to be on the nose. So for the next few days, you'll have those southeast winds. So I'll pass it back to the chief. Maybe she's got things sorted.
Yes, and obviously my streaming computer, which I also have my northern antenna on, which hears you a lot better than the one here, Nick. So if you could start again, I'm sorry about that. Laura Dawn, go ahead. Over. Yes, much better. Go ahead.
Okay, we have at 17 degrees, 45 seconds and 470 south, 177, 058 west. The wind is 15 knots from 120 east southeast, much more east than southeast. We're making 6.5 knots, heading 270 direct west. We have a swell which is southerly of around 2 meters in about 10-second intervals. The weather here has been mostly cloud today, about 80% cloud, warm, and no squalls at all today.
Oh, that's good. No squalls at all. Okay, let me tell you where Laura Dawn is. And they are at 1745 south, 17727 west, with a 15 to 20 mostly easterly wind. 6.5 knots on a course of 270. I think that's magnetic, with a swell of 2 meters and mostly cloudy. But warm. You did have to rub that in, didn't you? Mind you, I suppose our temperature is not too bad for July. But, yep, making good progress. So things are all well. Can you see any of the other boats? Over?
We've got 2 boats behind us. One we can see, and that's the one behind us. We've got SY Christina behind us and SC Ocean Blue within 2 miles. Everyone's making good progress. We expect to touch base with you from the Loma tomorrow night.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we'll hope that everyone settles in well tomorrow night, and we will look forward to hearing from you. We have not been to the Lao at all, so we're always interested to see what people's impressions. Sunak sent a picture of the main anchorage, so I've got a little bit of a feel for where you are headed. Okay, well, have a good night. Did you have anything more to add, David?
No, not too much. Looks like around that area tomorrow, at about lunchtime, I see 15 knots, pretty much out of the east, which you reported. So it's good to see that the actuals are in agreement with most of the models, so that's pretty good. I can tell you the actual wind at Savo Savo is 14 knots out of the south, of all things. Now, the wind does take a turn up in that area, so it's not really representative of what it's like out in the open water. But in any case, it's not strong. That's what I look at what the velocity is. So that's only 14 knots, and that pretty much agrees with what you're getting at the moment. So that's Wednesday, and since I've got the mic in my hand, I'll just take a look at Thursday, and not much difference. It looks like still easterly, and about 12 to 15, I would say. So, sounds good. Here's the chief.
Okay, well, have a good night up there, and I will clear with Laura Dawn. Is there anybody else wanting to make contact? No sign of Sugar Shack, and I think Pangea were leaving today, but I haven't heard them either, so might have to try and find them on the AIS. My computer's really decided it didn't like the music, so I'm having to reset everything again. Okay, folks, have a good night. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, and we'll be clear. Oh, I do have you, Sugar Shack. A little bit too close to get good copy. It looks like you have plenty of wind. Over. Oh, that's good. It looks so that sea. What is the sea conditions for you? Wow, that's amazing. It has gone down. I would have thought after those gale winds we had yesterday, which I experienced out walking, so only about 1 metre from the southeast. That's absolutely incredible. Okay, well, you guys enjoy your July 4th. I guess you can't celebrate too much while you're at sea, but you'll remember this July 4th from having taken off from the cold colony. So we'll hear you better tomorrow. I'm sure we will hear you better tomorrow. Over. Okay, thank you. All right.
The forecast is 2 meters southwest tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, dear. David has just said that the forecast is for 2 meters southwest tomorrow.
Sorry.
2 meters southwest, so that's going to be picking up that wind that we got yesterday. So,
and winds up to about 26
and
knots.
The winds tomorrow, you probably have seen on Gribs, are up to 26 knots, So that's going to keep you on your toes there. Won't need too much sail up on the good ship Sugar Shack. Okay. By the way, you are the only boat in the world on AIS with that name, Sugar Shack, so it makes you very easy to find. Okay, this is Gulf Harbour Radio, and we will be clear. I've lost everything, so I'm going to be here a while because I can't actually turn off the other antenna until I can get the program back on.